We've been testing. Hopefully this is going to be starting to work again. Yes. Apparently there's another wire to plug in here. I was trying to get stuff working, and of course it's always last minute things. It wasn't working. Disappointing. It worked once. It teased me. Oh no. Having issues with TikTok. I am investigating. Okay, unable to connect, unable to connect. Maybe if I refresh. Well, we're seeing if it works. Something's happening somewhere. Maybe I have to close this one. No, are we back? Yes, we're back. Hang on a second. Disney Parks Live is streaming. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It is FriYAY. Do I have any buttons for FriYAY? I got buttons for days. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting ready to have a fantastic weekend. I know I'm looking forward to doing stuff and things. I have many things to do around the house. That is for certain. Okay. Let's get this going where we are on all platforms. Okay. Does it seem to be working? I think it's working. So just what I've been talking about, what the delay for starting the show was, last week or earlier this week, I was able to get everyone on TikTok, their chat window just worked over here on Instagram, on a restream, which means you could put it on the big screen. No moderator needed, it just worked. And now it's not working. So it was sort of the bait. They baited me into believing that I didn't need a moderator anymore, and here I am without a moderator. Actually, that's not true. I'm sort of self-moderating. It's just I am sort of self-moderating. So if someone is acting out, we'll remove them. That's just what happens. Let's see. Okay, let me get back into here so I can once again. Here we go. We're back. All right. Let's get into stuff and things. My name is Sean Shapiro, Police Constable with Toronto Police Service. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff all the time. If you're watching, you're on one of the platforms we broadcast on. That's just what the story is. Now, that could be one of many. In fact, it could be TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, or the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X. And of course, if you're on X, you can't actually ask us questions, so I'd suggest you go over to youtube.trafficcop.ca or go to trafficcop.ca, get the links to whatever platform you'd like to be on, and join in the conversation, because this is really a show that's all about you. So about answering your traffic and police questions. Now, we are in Toronto, the magical city of Toronto, in the province of Ontario, in the country of Canada. So our laws may be different than where you are, but we talk about general things. And if you're talking about a specific place and it's not Ontario, let us know. We're going to assume we were talking about Ontario unless you say you're talking about something else. Stephen Bell says, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Let's see what's, we got a Kayla Draconis here, who says, greetings and salutations in a meeting. See you after. Now, Kayla brought up, he taught me something. I didn't know you could replay a live event or a pre-recorded event for that matter in double time or fast time. I don't know about you, but I like to listen to my ebooks at 1.25 to 1.5 times speed, depending on the cadence of the person speaking. I tend to speak quickly. I got a lot to say and a little time to say it, so I try and go a little quicker than the average person, which some people have issues with. And I appreciate that if you are watching now and I speak too quickly for you, many people say that their English is a second language, they need more time. You can replay these events at half speed or 3/4 speed. You're not getting the live experience, but you can still get it. And you can also email. You can also go to trafficcop.ca and send me a message, and I can respond to you that way. Someone sent me a message this morning that I've yet to, they want to know what airport, tickets issued on their airport license, because it's a special, runway license. They want to know if those carry over to their G. I don't think they do, but I'm looking into it to get a confirmation. Michael H. says, yay, that's FriYAY, icon. Hey, good use of emojis. Is that an emoji or is that just an icon? Is there an emotion in a French fry? I don't know. Happy FriYAY from Richard. Basharat Ali says, awareness in the best interest of road users with multiple thumbs up. Thank you, thank you. Evandro says, good morning, happy Friday, everybody. Your Brazil fan is watching again. Right on. And Basharat, includes a love from the traffic police in Punjab, Pakistan. Right on. Thanks for, you've been coming in a lot. It's great to see you here. Let's see here. LinkedIn user for whom I do not know your name because it's privacy setup. In Ontario, can we drive a car with the trailer hitch all the time attached to the car? We'll come back to that. I wonder if that's Evandro, but for some reason it didn't attach his name this time. Anyway, we'll talk about that. I'm going to be chatting to you about Vision Zero enforcement team in just a second. But I'm going to flag this one. And, Stephen Bell is feeling so-so. It's flu season. I thought I'd beaten flu season because I had a month-long cough. And I did not have COVID. I tested because that's the thing to do now. But I just had a cough. And now it's being like, I think it's called having children. They bring the germies home. And then you cuddle them because they're cute. And then you get sniffles and stuff. Let's see, I'm going to flag this. Vision Zero enforcement team on November 3rd, that's today, they are spending time in 31 Division and 55 Division, which may mean nothing to you. So I'll break it down as to where that is. But I want to tell you what they do. And for people who are regulars in the show, you know. You could probably tell us where they are and what they do. But Vision Zero enforcement team is a group of officers who try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They're the folks who go out and look for drivers who are choosing to engage in behaviors that are unsafe. They're unsafe because they lead to serious injury and death. Like there's stuff like having a license plate that conceals your license plate, makes it hard to read. That's an offense, but it doesn't directly cause injury. But speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving sure do. So they focus on that. That's not to say they won't charge you for having a license plate cover, but that's not the focus of their work. Just like people who are out on the sidewalk, they are putting pedestrians at risk, but there's more going on that's higher risk to those who are choosing to engage in the Big Four. So we do it all, but our Vision Zero officers focus on this. And divisional officers, I point there and I have to point there. Anyway. All right. Big reminder this weekend, the clocks change back to standard time, which means for the next couple of weeks, we're going to see an unfortunate increase in collisions and issues on the road. Why is that? Well, your sleep you're going to be out of sync. You're going to be out of sorts. It's just not going to be the way you're used to. Because every time we change, whether it's springing forward, falling back, we are a mess as humans that drive, walk, and ride for about 2 weeks. And we have to be conscious of that, and we have to be extra careful. We have to work on getting better sleep and trying to pay attention to safety, making safety a priority on the road. Because we want 70% increase in pedestrian collisions or collisions with pedestrians being struck. That's what the anticipated numbers are, or based on historical numbers. A 30% increase in general collisions overall. Not okay. Not okay. We know this going in. We should make a change. So please leave early. Give yourself lots of time. Go to bed early and focus on safety. Get rid of the phone. Don't touch it. And let's just all get to where we're going and back home again safe and sound. Yes, that's the plan. All right. I told you what divisions, but I didn't tell you where they are. Black Creek, Humbermead, Downsview, Humber Summit, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. Those are the neighborhoods that they're spending time in. See, I brought it back. Anyway, let's see here. Zivzio wants to know. No, Zivizio. Okay, we'll flag this one. I'll come back to it because we're out of order. We have Zombie. Oh, you got a late notification. It's okay. We'll let you off the hook. Now, I am self-monitoring the chat, which means it's going to be a little slower than normal. So if you want to actually, I was going to say that we could just make sure that everyone comes over to the other window to come over to YouTube where you don't need a moderator. If you find your questions not being answered in a timely manner, you want to get ahead of the game, you could always jump over to the other platform, but I will do my best to manage everybody. So Abe Barante says, Vision Zero is based on infrastructure because enforcement is insufficient. No, it is a combination of things. It is education, enforcement, and infrastructure. All of them. You can't just build a road and suddenly there's no issue. We build roads to create safer environments for vulnerable road users, but it is not solely an infrastructure system or solution. It's a more complicated solution because it's a more complicated problem. Anyway. Left side mirror is broken. Is there any ticket? Hanging means driver can't see left mirror. So you do have to have a mirror that provides a clear view to the rear. You can, however, stick your head out the window, make a proper shoulder check. You need to have a clear view to the rear. That's what the law says. So if you have one mirror, whether it be left or right, or rear view mirror on your windshield, those do cover it. Could you get a ticket? If the officer interprets it differently, they may charge you. Will you have a defense? Based on the fact that you have to have a clear view to the rear by a minimum of one mirror, you might have a defense. All right. Let me go in here. I'm going to grab a couple of stuff and put it into another platform so that I don't lose these messages that are being asked here, and I'll bring them over to the other side. All right. Hang on. Did I mention it's going to go a little slower today? It's going to go a little slower today, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes I go through so quickly, and then it's too quick. Oh, they say build barriers. Yeah, but they're not building barriers. That's not what Vision Zero is. The suggestion is that that Vision Zero is building barriers. In fact, like tunnels and bridges and things that to protect pedestrians have, in some cases, created more issues for safety, but other types of safety. Okay, make this a little smaller. Have police been charged for stunt driving while off duty? I don't know. That's a good question, though. I know that an on-duty police officer was charged for stunt driving on duty. So I'm sure it's happened off duty as well. All right, let's get to some questions that are flagged, and then we'll move on and continue down the list. So I flagged everything that's on the screen right now. I've got saved. But let's go in here. So in Ontario, can we drive a car with a trailer hitch all the time attached to the car? In Brazil, it's prohibited. You can only use it when you have the trailer. So there's no law in the books in Ontario that I'm aware of that says that's an offense to have the ball and tongue in the receiver. Yeah, your shins may be upset with you when you walk into it, but there's no law. Now, is it a good idea? Many people do this intentionally with the belief that they are going to save their bumpers for minor collisions. And in minor collisions, it may work. In major collisions, you may actually cause greater injury and harm because all of the impact is going to be delivered directly to your frame as opposed to being absorbed by the smushy parts. That's the part of the car that's designed to crumple. You know, those things called crumple zones. Well, those crumple zones absorb impact, and your frame, well, it doesn't absorb it the same way. It sends it to you. So it could actually be not a great idea. So even though there's no law that I'm aware of, it could be something that we should add as a law. Who knows? Okay. Conical Composite has a question. Oh, they're selling bots and things. Zavizio says, hi, if I'm in the left lane and I get pulled over, do I stop right away or can I lane change to the right, then pull over? So here's a big question. And okay, there's two questions. So the first question is, you're in the left lane. So I'm assuming you're on a divided highway, because if you're in the left lane, no, you don't, in a two-way road where you have oncoming traffic on the other side of the line, you don't stop in the middle. You do change lanes and move over to the right. Now, the law says that you have to pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway. And that really is specific. When you talk about to the left, it really is for a divided highway. It could be where look at the 401. You couldn't go into oncoming traffic. There's a divider, right? In that situation, especially in low speed traffic, it might be safer to move over to the left. We most times want you to the right. So signaling, slowing down, changing lanes, doing it safely and pulling over is the right way to go. But stop right away, like in your tracks, very dangerous. That's one of the reasons why we don't activate our lights unless we're actually trying to pull someone over or going through a signalized intersection displaying a red signal, because people do the darndest things and it's often not safe. So 99% of the time we want you moving to the right and pulling off the road as far as you can. What do we got here? So this is the second question that you have. And that is, if a car has right of way to stop, but they are waiting for pedestrians and I can make my turn, can I? If a car has right of way but they're waiting for pedestrians, can I make my turn? So you're basically at a four-way stop or a stop sign and the other vehicle just doesn't go. Are you stuck there for the rest of the day? We don't know what they're doing, but if they are not paying attention and not going and you've given them a reasonable amount of time, could you go? I would probably try and honk, flash, wave, and they do nothing. yeah, I would say you're safe to go there, but I would give them every opportunity if they have the right of way to go first. That would be my answer. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are very distracted. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. All right. Let's scroll through here. Then we're going back to TikTok. Oh, here's a notice from Richard who says Bloor Street's closed next week from Spadina to Avenue Road. I was not aware of that, but thanks for sharing that with everyone watching. This is traffic reports from Richard. And Kayla's back. Okay. Flagging these through, and let's get back into this. So, morning from Brighton, Ontario. Hope you have a great day. That's from Rachel. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day too. We have Mayor who says, no, this is comments to other people. Adam Greenspan wants to know about car theft. I don't know what you want. The car theft was the only comment, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Earl the Pearl says zero tolerance for modified exhausts needed. You know what? It is a major problem. We have a lot of people, and one of the number one complaints from citizens, from residents, is the loud noise that vehicles are creating. In fact, I'm scheduled to, or I should say scheduled. I'm speaking to somebody. I think it's CP24 later today about. Maybe it's BlogTO. Anyway, a media outlet wants to talk about that very topic, loud, modified exhaust. It's a problem. People deserve to have peace and quiet. The people who are choosing to make it louder and disturb everybody else are breaking the law. Unnecessary noise is absolutely an option for police to lay those charges. Let's see here. I make dash cam review videos. The number of people I catch doing dumb things in the camera is high. That's from DSauce. Let me put you on screen. Oops. There we go. It is amazing how much content that I create myself based on what I'm seeing in my own personal dash cam. We have horrendous drivers. We have many horrendous drivers. Not all drivers are horrendous. We have many horrendous drivers. So much so that I think they should not be driving. There is no way that that everyone on the road needs to be on the road. Yeah. If I could take away licenses at the press of a button, I would happily pull off. I would assume half the drivers are doing bad stuff. Let's see here. So I'd love to, please tag me when you put up a dash cam video, because I'd love to see your videos, but also I may comment on your comments. We'll see. Maybe we can create a whole series of stuff here. What do we have here? Oh, I flagged that one already. We have okay, we did this. We're up to date there. Okay, going back to the questions coming in from TikTok. If you're watching and you're new to the channel, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. Follow us if you don't already follow us. Tap us to show, send likes to the algorithm. Share us if you've got friends who need to know what we're talking about. Aberrante says, Toronto Police is known for their lack of enforcement of traffic laws. Really? Who are they known to by? Whom? By whom? Who says such things? You know what? We are understaffed in general. We are working on keeping people safe. And in between all of those things, we're also issuing tickets. We have dedicated teams that do nothing but enforcement. But to say that there's a lack of enforcement, I don't think that's a fair statement. We've written hundreds of thousands of tickets this year. And actually, what's the actual number? What is the actual number? Hopefully I don't crash my entire computer by going here, but I'm going to pull up the stats to see what kind of numbers we have, because we do that. We track that sort of thing. What do we got? Here we go. And just because you asked, we'll talk about it. Any guesses as to how many tickets we've issued in the city this year, year to date, as of today or yesterday, whatever the cutoff was for the statistics to be added up and computated? I want to know, what are your guesses? How many tickets has the Toronto Police issued in the city of Toronto this year? Throw your comments in, and we will talk about it. So we'll come back to this in a second. David Feely, is it time for Ontario to mandate the annual inspection for all vehicles? So many mods and junkers on the road. Oh, there's so many mods and junkers on the road. You know what? I certainly don't have a problem with that. We have people who legitimately have cars that are unsafe on the road. We catch them, we inspect them, we take them off the road when need be. If it's an unsafe vehicle, absolutely, we take them off the road. It is unfortunate that we are in that many people are having tough times, and some people just don't care. There's a difference. There's people who stretch things because they're trying to make ends meet, and there's people who stretch things because they could care less. Unsafe vehicles, regardless of the reasons behind it, shouldn't be on the road. So we do inspections all the time. We have a group that focuses on the inspections on commercial motor vehicles, those big trucks where wheels come off and hurt people. But there's no reason for any unsafe vehicle to be on the road. So, David, I think it's a great idea. Absolutely. We'll see what happens, though. All right. So, in answer to the question of tickets, let me see if I have any guesses as to how many. Okay. Here. So we've got guesses of 200K, 1,571. Who's that? Police Detective is the username. What a boot. 200K. Minky says about 3 million. Police Detective put in a guess from 1571 to 1 million. Abby says 2,500. Randy there says 350,000. We've got it's dash baby is C dash baby 350,000. No, sorry, that was 350. It was 175,000 was his guess. Somebody whose name I will not say online says, or Mean Man Menzio, is that what it is? 75 to 100K is their guess. 330 from Jay Melly, 69. I think we did more than 69. But here's the actual numbers. Let's see here. The total number of tickets as of yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, is 210,690. That's a lot of tickets. And there's so much stuff to unpack as to what the priority, like what the largest number of tickets is, but there's a high percentage of them are speeding. And now I see what looks like about 35% of those tickets are speeding. And aggressive driving, about 25% of those tickets. Distracted driving, I thought it would have been higher. It looks like it's about 5%. And then, then there's about 35% or 34% that make up the rest. But that's a lot of tickets. So how many tickets does it really look at? So what is 3,000? What does 5% look like? We're looking at 9,500 and almost 9,520, call it, distracted driving tickets. But 63, almost 64,000 speeding tickets. I think it's very interesting. Now, that's not to say that we couldn't write more. We certainly can. We just need more people, because I can go out in the street and look around and I will see people everywhere breaking the law. And we have to pick and choose. We have to choose the ones that are most egregious more often than not. Like, we're not looking for the low-hanging fruit. We're not looking for, stuff that we are looking for everything, but we're focused on the stuff that hurts people. Let's see here. It is. I think we've had years where there was way more. Anyway, let's go back to my list of questions from the Talk Tick. Okay. Make sure, Jonathan Norris says, make sure that people put on their snow tires or winter tires soon. It prevents accidents. Well, let me change the language. You said accidents. Hang on, I'll do a live edit here. Collisions. Okay. So they said accidents, and I, and then I typoed collisions. Okay, it's collisions. Anyway, we'll stick with yours because mine is spelled incorrectly. Anyway, snow tires are not mandatory in Ontario. I think it would be great if they were. It certainly does make it safer because you have better handling in colder weather with snow tires. You have better stopping. You have better the ability for your tires to stick to the road because they're not frozen. Tires, especially summer tires, there's varying compounds, and multi-season tires have sections of the tire devoted to different temperatures. My understanding. I'm by no means a tire scientist, but they try and do it all, and a do-it-all solution does everything somewhat okay, but it's not the perfect solution. A proper winter tire is built purposefully for that use, so it works better. And I certainly I haven't put mine on yet, and I was going to do it on Saturday. We'll see how that works out. What my day looks like on Saturday, if I can make it happen. It's better, or it ideally, when it hits and hovers around 7 degrees Celsius, that's when you want to start looking at putting on your snow tires. Before that, when it's all over the place, up and down, maybe not the time. But I think we're there. I'm getting frost on my windows in the morning. Hey, it's Jay says, who's your NFL team? I wish I had one. I don't watch sports. I don't have time for sports. It's not that I don't like it. I like football movies. Movies about football. Was it Any Given Sunday? Things like that. They're great movies, but I don't track sports. I got other stuff to do. And no disrespect to those who love sports. I'm a busy guy. We talked about the left side mirror ticket. When is it required to have snow tires on your tire? Blah, blah, blah. When is it required to have winter tires on your vehicle? We just covered it, but I'll put it on screen anyway, because it is really dependent on where you are. So that's Paul asking the question. The deal is, again, 7 degrees Celsius is when you should be putting them on. But do you need to have them? Must you have them? Not in Ontario. In Quebec, you do have to have them. And I think it's based on date there. I think that's the story. Okay, people talking about, scrolling through again. Boom, boom, boom. Looking for new questions. All right. Some duplication. I see. So Aberrante or Aberrante, I don't know what your name is, but your username is that, is suggesting that police can break the rules. And further says police enforcement is not performed. I don't know if you mean by, is police enforcement on police not performed, or by police not performed? Anyway, you happen to seem to be a little bit leaning towards the police are not doing the right thing. You know what? The police are the most monitored and regulated industry, more so I think than doctors. So everything's recorded, everything's tracked. We have GPS in our vehicles. If we're doing something wrong, someone's going to bring it up and investigate us. And the members of the public can make complaints if they think we're doing something wrong. There is an absolute method or way to report it, and things don't get brushed under the rug; they get investigated. Okay, Desdem. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's put your question on the screen. Oh, that's a really good question from Zombie. We'll get to that in just 1 second. Desdem, why do y'all go so hard for non-victim offenses? Well, there's laws, and you have to follow them. So regardless of whether it directly hurts someone or causes issues, like, for instance, covers on your license plate. What's the issue with that? It makes them hard to read. And then people do other things, and they don't get held accountable because no one can identify the vehicle. You cover your license plate or put it in the wrong place, and then, well, people do those things and don't get caught. Well, that's not good. So it's certainly something that is worthy of attention, just where we can, focus our efforts. Sergeant Murray Campbell joining the studio. Howdy.
Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're managing to, again, TikTok is not working with Restream, so I'm manually, without a moderator, putting questions in. But this is good. This is fantastic because you can answer stuff while I'm looking for new questions. But
oh, wonderful.
Desdem wants to know why y'all go so hard for non-victim offenses. And I was just saying that we go for all of them because there are laws being broken, but we do focus on the ones that lead to serious injury and death.
Absolutely. But every offense that's out there causes an effect somewhere down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. So non-victim offenses, if the tint is too dark, well, you know what? Maybe that can cause a problem farther down the road. Now, your license plate renewal, back when you had to pay for it, was that one? Well, everybody has to pay for it. Everybody should be held accountable for it. Now it's free, and you can do it online, and it doesn't cost you anything unless you got some outstanding tickets. And if you got outstanding tickets, including parking tickets and 407 fees, pay them like everybody else has to, and then no problem. So, is there a victim in there? No, might be the government, but is it fair?
Rules. If I have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for insurance. If I have to pay for my driver's license, you have to pay for your driver's license.
Yeah.
It's about everyone doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Can cars box in other cars, like park car in front of the cart corral and car parked behind the car that's parked in front of the car corral? Do you mean, can someone block you in so you cannot leave? It's a private property issue. But no, I mean, aside from it being not nice and wrong, could you get towed? Could someone tow you for it? It would be against the rules of the property. They'd likely have a ticket issued and a tow truck attend to get you out.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you park in contravention of what is normal parking laid out on private property, like say you're at the mall, something like that, and you're blocking somebody in, in the city of Toronto under, I think it's 915 is the bylaw, a parking enforcement officer or police officer can come out, see that it's an offense, see that the private property owner has to sign an indemnity form that they're taking 100% responsibility for the fact that they're asking to have a vehicle removed. And it's their choice to have a vehicle removed from their property. And if they're doing it improperly, well, obviously they're not going to have customers coming in very often, but it's 100% up to them, and your vehicle can be removed if it's blocking. Now, if it's blocking a fire route or an accessible parking spot that's properly signed, stuff like that, then we have other offenses that could be and towing out of that. So,
Yes.
yes, there you go.
Can a G2 driver drive on the highway by themselves? Do you have your G2, Avinash? Because if you have your G2, you should know the answer to this question. And that's not to call you out. Well, it is calling you out if you have your G2. But if you're working on getting your G2, then it's a reasonable question. These are all answered in the driver's handbook, but that's why we're here. So no, there's no such thing as a silly question. I just occasionally poke fun.
Yep.
So yes, you can. As a G2 driver, you can basically drive anywhere at any time without restriction, other than the conditions that are outlined in your G2. So you zero blood alcohol content. You can't have in the first 6 months more than one person under the age of 20 in the car with you between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. That other than immediate family. And then in the second 6 months of being licensed as a G2 driver, you can have no more than 3 under the age of 20. That's really to prevent you from out being the party person with lots of rowdy people in your car.
Yeah.
It's all the intention behind all of them is safety.
Yeah, and studies have shown that teens or early 20s are more likely to, or new drivers are more likely to get into collisions with that influence that's in your car with you.
Drivers under the age of 24 are overrepresented in traffic fatalities, according to the Traffic Injury Research Foundation.
Which is a shame.
Yes, truly, because it means that the new drivers that are getting on the road with long lives ahead of them are either doing things to create scenarios where they lose their lives, or are creating situations where others do it. And that's the whole idea behind the graduated licensing, getting more experience, slowing down the process, having people gradually become a driver as opposed to getting a ticket to do whatever they want in the first day, like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were at a meeting yesterday, and there is talk now for professional drivers, commercial drivers, something like that, having a graduated system in there for the weight limits. Start off driving a smaller, lighter truck and work your way up once you graduate and proving yourself to have the ability to have, the double train or the 53-foot fully loaded truck and tractor combination, where the consequences of making a mistake with those are absolutely horrific.
We have a question here. Actually, there's before we talk about this comment here from Addie and Tint. There's a comment that is actually not completely correct, but I want to unpack it. So they said the only difference between a G2 and a G is the zero blood alcohol content, which I just mentioned a condition between midnight and 5 a.m. So that is not actually correct, Overholster. But there is an additional thing. As a G2 driver and a G1 driver, you have increased penalties as a novice, which means if you get a ticket that has 4 demerit points, you are going to trigger a 30-day suspension. There's a lower bar for suspension when it comes to total accumulation of points. I think it's 15 points for a G-class driver. It is only 7 points, I think, for another drive for a learner or a novice driver. So there's a bunch of things that are actually there. But it is interesting. A lot of people think there's none, and a lot of people think there's many.
Yeah, well, you know what? The big one is the alcohol tolerance between a G2, just a G2 and a G, aside from the novice driver portion of it. So, yeah, that is a big part of it. And the reason it's there is because that's what causes some of the problems.
Now, when you get your G, you don't necessarily get to drink.
No, depending on your age.
You have to be over 21, which means you must be 22. People think that it's 21 and over. It's not. It's over the age of 21, which is actually 22. I don't like the wording of it, but that is the wording. So Addie says, why do you care about tint, not actual criminals? Well, we care about both. Tint is actually dangerous, or can be. Can be. Minor tint is less of an issue, but tint that is over the regulatory limit, or tint that simply prevents us from seeing inside your vehicle, those are issues.
And you know what? An awful lot of criminals drive cars. And if I'm trying to identify a criminal and the windows are tinted, I can't see them. I can't identify them. And that's stopping me from getting criminals.
Yes, it's funny. Criminals drive cars. Did you know that?
I did know that.
And then as additional comment, it is Tinsdale who says, in response to Addie, that we're traffic officers whose job it is to enforce the HTA. But here's the thing: we're police officers first. We just happen to specialize in traffic because we work for traffic services. But we're all police officers, and all police officers can enforce the HTA. We just happen to like it and study it and become professional or experts on it.
Yep, absolutely. And enforcement is not our only job. There's an awful lot of expertise that works out of this building in traffic, alcohol enforcement and recognition, drug enforcement recognition, accident collision reconstruction, fail to remain investigations go on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens here. We're all specialists in our little field, but we're all police officers first and do the job of a police officer every day.
Absolutely. One comment here from Anonymous. What if I rolled down my dark tint every time I saw a police car? Well, if we never saw the issue, we'd likely never know. But if we did pull you over and perform a check of your vehicle, well, then we may have you roll up the window and identify the issues. At that point, we can still lay the charge. We can do an inspection for your vehicle to make sure it's safe.
Yep.
And tint is part of a safety inspection.
Would we have the reason to pull you over there just for your window tint if we didn't see it? No, we wouldn't.
It would be unlikely.
Yeah.
Earl the Pearl says, officer safety, in response to Addie, who is, again, asking for reasons why. Officer safety is a real thing. You know, when we approach a vehicle, when we see a vehicle, whether it be fleeing or involved in a collision or just monitoring to see if you're wearing your seatbelt, using your cell phone, is the person inside the car as we approach pointing a gun at us? Like, all of these things are realities. Interesting. Good points. Good points, everybody. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So here's Randy, who wants to know, what is with all the scooters and electric bikes on the road these days?
Yeah.
Well, the deal is that it's an economical and green way of commuting, which is, I mean, talk about economical. I don't know about you, but if I spend a tremendous amount of money on motor vehicle expense, whether it be insurance, vehicle itself, gas, it's expensive to drive. And if you could get around using an electric bike that is pennies to charge up, it's pretty good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are limitations and there are restrictions on what you can do on an electric bike. Scooter, not allowed anywhere in the city of Toronto. That'd be electric or gas-powered ones. I saw a couple of gas-powered ones out near my house a couple of days ago. None of those are allowed anywhere. The electric ones, within the certain criteria, other jurisdictions allow them, the pilot project. Toronto is not one of them.
Yeah, so to break that down, if you want more information, you can actually go to trafficcop.ca. At the bottom, there's links, useful links, a breakdown on what the laws are for e-bikes, for e-kick scooters, and for riding bicycles in the city of Toronto. And all those things are different depending on the jurisdiction you're in. In the province of Ontario, an e-bike that is actually a motor vehicle, because it's got a motor on a vehicle, makes it a motor vehicle, gets special consideration if it's incapable of going faster than 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, if it has no more than a 500-watt motor, if it's no heavier than 120 kilos, has pedals that work. And this is all outlined in the documents you can link to read it yourself. But those are the basics. If you modify it or you bought it and it's capable of doing 50, 60, 80 kilometers an hour, that's just a motorcycle, period. And there's a lot of people who take the ones that are sold in a compliant way, even though they're truly not compliant, if they can do those speeds. And then they pull out the limiters and they do wild and crazy things. We've seen e-bikes on the highway, and those are obviously motor vehicles. And the costs or the what we can lay charges for is not only having a non-compliant vehicle that's not licensed, insured. Like, the insurance alone is $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail. So people don't take these into consideration when they're trying to save a buck and commute using these green vehicles. but they're putting themselves at risk, they're putting others at risk, and they're not covering anyone for that liability. In fact, when they're traveling around in these uninsured vehicles and they crash into somebody, it's somebody they crash into that's going to really be in trouble.
Well, they're the ones that are going to have to pay the deductible, put a claim through the insurance, and that all could have been saved had they been acting in a responsible manner, driving at a reasonable speed. I mean, it just makes us into the victims, and us. I mean, everybody who's driving on the road and paying for it.
Well, yeah. And then just to close the loop, for e-kick scooters, it's 24 kilometers an hour, 500-watt motor, and no seat can be put on. You can't transport stuff like this. And nowhere in the city of Toronto can you use an e-kick scooter, despite the fact that I see them all over the place, because people choose to use them. Okay. Dash cam footage is the question. From Kinder in Canada? Kinder in Canada? Is it Kinder? I went immediately to chocolate. That's what I went. So the question is, can dash cam footage be provided to police by civilians to report offenses?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work because the contents of the video may not capture everything we need in order to lay a charge. However, we can definitely look at it and create a report based on it and start the process.
Yeah, the information is gathered. The report is taken. If we cannot lay a charge specifically for that one offense because it's missing elements of the offense, it can be cataloged and used in further offenses. Should this same license plate number keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up, we can show a pattern of driver behavior and work our way backwards from there. So,
yes.
So yes, please do. And if you want to make a driving report of bad driver behavior, we can do it at the tps.ca website.
Yeah, you can make a report of an area issue where people are driving in a certain way in your neighborhood. You can also do it for a specific vehicle. And that's great. Most police services have the ability to make these types of complaints. And as Richard says, traffic fatalities are still the leading cause of death in Canada. And he says traffic enforcement is extremely important. It is, because without it, oddly enough, people seem to think they can get away with stuff.
Yep.
So if we
Thank
don't...
you, Richard. I appreciate that.
Yes. Richard's a big supporter of law enforcement. Let's see here. We've got a bunch of questions.
You got to remember that if everybody did everything right, we wouldn't have a job.
Yes.
Everybody would be safe all the time.
Well, it's okay because I don't mind like getting coffee and catching up on reading new laws and
Yeah, but
no. The fact is, there's a lot of people who break the law, and it does keep us employed. I certainly don't want more people to break the law, though.
no, absolutely not.
But I think based on behavior that we see, it is something that we don't have to worry about. We're going to be here for a long time and need it for a long time. Scott says or asks, can you be charged with DUI if you test positive for something you took a week ago and there's no way that you can still be impaired from that, i.e. blood, urine, but has been a week since taken? So like in the case of drugs or alcohol, it wouldn't be in your system to the level, or this is THC specifically that Scott's talking about. There is a threshold, there's an amount that has to be there in order to qualify for charges there, from my understanding, and the likelihood that you'd actually be impaired. So you've got impairment, and then you've got thresholds in your system.
Right. Just like drinking alcohol, impaired is one thing. If you are actually impaired and then operating a motor vehicle, you're impaired. But also there's a level that is set for alcohol consumption. It's 0.08. You can get charged for both. Same thing with drugs. The impairment part may still be there. If you're charged with DUI, it's obviously that you're impaired by something. Now, THC in the blood or urine doesn't last that long. It wasn't a week ago. You may have something else in there that is contributing to your impairment. So, but the offense of being impaired is just quite rightly that, impaired by drug or alcohol.
Yes. This is a question that I put up here. It was actually Pastel Path, who wants to know what metrics are used to gauge officer performance. And this is sort of, usually comes up in conversation in relation to, do we have a quota? Or how do you get ahead in the service? Or, the idea is that we're paid to do a job. And if we're doing the job that we're paid for, we're okay. Now, that job could take many different roles, and every day it changes. So it could be something like, today you're going to be at a traffic point because we need you there because it's an issue. You're there until somebody else can relieve you. If you're doing that and not writing tickets and not investigating anything, but you've been told to go there, that's what you do. And, some days we are doing enforcement blitzes because that's a campaign that we're doing. We're looking for a certain type of offense in a certain area because there's been complaints in the community, and that's what we're doing. And that they might be going and actively engaging with public for the purposes of education or enforcement. It doesn't have to be more tickets than discussions. There isn't this, you must do this and come back with a stack of tickets or you're going to get a talking to.
Right. So as a supervisor, I expect when officers are out there, I expect them to be producing something. And what that thing is can change daily. Sometimes an investigation is very, very quick and it can be over and done with. And then you have some downtime, and I expect you to be doing something with your downtime that is positively affecting the community. Whether that is traffic enforcement, whether that is, patrolling streets, looking for break-and-enters, looking for things like that. I need to see as a supervisor that you are using your time effectively. And if you're not, then I have a problem with that. One of the ways is traffic enforcement, because that affects everybody all the time, all over the city. And it's not only traffic officers' responsibility to do that, but all police officers' responsibility to do that. Because we know with the metrics that traffic collisions, traffic fatalities affect more people and cause more harm and disruption in your community than like even homicides. So
yeah, year over year or year to year, we look at the numbers of people killed in collisions on our roads and the people killed in violent crime situations, and we are either equal, give or take a couple, or we are higher in collision situations or traffic fatalities. And oddly enough, the community yells and screams about criminal ones, but seems to ignore the fact that so many people are dying on our roads due to the choices drivers make.
Yep, absolutely.
So I don't want anyone to get hurt. I would like everyone to get home safely every day, regardless of how they're doing that. Someone's giving free virtual hamburgers, Chef Mario. Cool. That must be a new trend, or maybe it's a Chef Mario trend. Either way. One person says it's too early for burgers. Zavizio says, while driving on a non-highway road, can I drive in the left lane as normal speed for as long as I want to, or do I have to switch to the right lanes? I think what you mean is a highway, which is any road, that you're probably talking about not an expressway, not a controlled access highway, which is like a highway. So it's funny, we talk about parkways and roads, and everyone's got names, and they're all very confusing. So
they're all highways.
Yeah. But in the 401 would be a controlled access one, which has certain vehicles not being permitted, their pedestrians not being on there, et cetera. So if you're on a regular surface route, non-expressway, can you be in the left lane at normal speed for as long as you want to, or do you have to be in the right lane?
So
it's my favorite topic.
Yes. Common courtesy is you move over to the right and let the faster vehicles pass you. Even if you're traveling at the speed limit, there are other vehicles and people that are allowed to pass you, including ourselves. We don't always drive marked police cars, and we don't always put our lights and sirens on to get to where we're going. Sometimes it's quicker for us just to get through traffic without having people react to us. And sometimes they react kind of negatively in the way they drive. So,
but then you get into traffic situations where it's so busy that no one's going anywhere, and all traffic is going at the same speed. So it really depends on the situation. But yeah, staying to the right unless your passing is the right way to do it officially. In most areas, if it's a 60 kilometer an hour zone, no one should be going more than 60. No one's usually going. Yeah, stay to the right unless you're.
Now, if you're talking, urban roads where we have parking in one lane and we have lots of people making left turns, right turns, sometimes you have to jockey your position. Mm-hmm. And if the left lane, which is lane number 1 that we call it, because they're numbered from the center out, is the clearest path to road, and there's nobody that's trying to get by you, then it's all right.
Yes, it depends.
Take the lane of least resistance, but don't hold up and don't resist anybody else.
At the end of the day, it's a common sense thing. You have to do what's appropriate in the moment, and if you are doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. Yeah. It should be pretty obvious. I'm not saying that your question isn't reasonable, but it depends all the time.
Now, on the controlled access highways, there is now signage out there. Mm-hmm. And even secondary roads, keep right except to pass. And that's a sign. And if you're not doing that, you're...
And there's even other laws on the books that say that support that. So, but the problem is that, and where this really becomes the discussion is there are so many people breaking the law speeding. Are you supposed to be out of their way? And I think that's where this comes. Like, if you're doing the speed limit, shouldn't you be able to do the speed limit at 99? Technically, I think so. But there are people who can legally speed, like police, that need a place to go. And for their purposes, it would be better for you to stay out of the way. And for the most part, I'm not worried about the people who are breaking the law. If they have to slow down, I think that's a good thing.
The unfortunate part is there's an awful lot of people that get very upset when you're actually doing the right thing, and they want to not do the right thing, which causes road rage and incidents, and we don't want to see that happen ever. We want to catch those people.
Yes, get out of the way so
As
we can
opposed to
catch
you.
them for speeding. But yeah, I sit on the right lane. I am a right lane person because I do the speed limit, or even just a titch under. And it's interesting to watch everybody fly by at light speed. Joe wants to know if MTO cops have any power to stop any vehicle besides trucks. Often see them pulling over large trucks. Always wondered. It depends on the offense. They do have the authority to stop any vehicle, but their mandate is that they focus on certain things.
Right. So they can stop any vehicle for safety reasons. But like you said, their mandate is commercial vehicles. And that includes pickup trucks, which may have a white background, black letter plate on it. Now, you can have them for personal use only, but they still have the authority to pull you over and do an inspection.
And they will also do modified vehicles that are unsafe for the road based on their observations. In fact, they're the people who are often writing the laws. Some of their inspection folks have a direct hand in the laws that are being enforced. So they definitely have the authority. If you see the lights, you got to pull over. And if you don't think that it was appropriate that they charged you for something, you can always take it up after the fact. But if you see lights in your rearview mirror, pull over.
Yep. And you know what? If you do get charges for anything, that's why the courts are there.
That's right.
That's where you dispute it.
You don't have to agree with it, but fighting about it at the side of the road is not the place. What happens if you get into a collision in the winter with no snow tires on, but you told your insurance company you have snow tires for the discount? I don't do this. Just curious. I'm glad that you put the happy face there. Otherwise, I'd be really worried. The deal is that your insurance company, based on you lying to them, may choose to not cover you. They would cover you for the liability for the stuff that's required, but they may choose to not pay a claim for the replacement of your vehicle and some things like that. They would possibly not cover you after that.
Yeah. And you know what? If you are not truthful with your insurance company, they're not going to be very happy with you, and they may not continue to offer you insurance.
Can you get fired? You can get fired as a customer.
You know what? You in Ontario, they cannot deny you insurance. You can't be denied insurance anywhere, but you may have to pay for it.
Oh, yes. Well, that's what facility is for, and that's insurance that is part of a group paid into by all insurance companies. But I've heard some wild stories as to how much monthly insurance can be in the thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands.
Crazy.
I have no idea. I don't even want to know what those numbers are, but I've heard ridiculous numbers. Let's see here. Do all loads have to be tarped over? I'm asking because I see a lot of insecure loads. Well, they have to be secured, and it might be a tarp that secures it. It might be the type of item that is not granular, or I'm thinking rocks and stuff.
When I have my power equipment or my ATVs or my motorcycle, it is strapped down with
regulated straps.
With straps able to secure the load.
Rated straps. That's what I was thinking.
And it's secured on 4 locations, all 4 sides.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be tarped. It depends on the product.
It's tougher strapping down some gravel. It's tougher strapping down some other stuff where you may have to have it tarped to stop it from coming out.
Yeah.
Gravity alone.
Oh, gravity is not. I have ticketed so many pickup trucks for, I just put it in there because it's safe, right?
Yeah, it's not coming out. Don't worry.
Yeah. It's at least 10 pounds. But those things become projectiles. I've seen engines from cars leave the engine and fly into a home. And people talk about, was it an insecure load? Well, it was a whoopsie-doo. But yeah, people who just put stuff in their bed of their truck and think it's going to stick around when the vehicle's rolling over. No. If front and rear plate are covered or tampered, could ticket be laid for both separately?
Yes. Absolutely.
Would we? Is it likely?
Oh, it depends.
It depends. It depends on the officer. It depends on the person being charged and the person being investigated. He's that officer.
Yep.
More often than not, and this is just the way I roll, is I try and be as reasonable as possible. And that is, if you do something, I'm going to write the most appropriate ticket. And if I can show the court, and this is important, if I can show the court that although you committed 2 offenses and I charged you for 1, why? Because I could have. I chose to give you, a warning on one of them to effectively. It just gives me some credibility in court. I think that's certainly not. It's just how I roll. That's how I do it.
Why do you need a covered rear license plate?
Well, you don't need any kind of covered license plate.
Well, that's exactly it. So,
That's why it's against the law.
and there's a lot of people that put tinted covers on there. And why are you doing that? The only reason to put a tinted cover on a license plate is to stop somebody or something from reading it. So do I have any problem giving out tickets for both front and back? No, because you at the same time you added one to the front, and then at a different time you added one to the rear.
Well, usually it's because it looks cool. It's not because it protects it. Like, some people want to protect it, but I think the vast majority of people are putting it on there because they want to, and for not because it's for looks more than protection. I think.
I get the protection. I understand. I truly, honestly get it. But if you're putting it on both, you're doing it for a reason.
Okay, Scott had some follow up. Well, actually, one sec. Ball tires. Richard's talking about ball tires. Scott was talking about how his lawyer screwed him over. Why? Because what is this? He says it's got to be high enough to level for it to be considered impaired for all substances. Each substance has there's different thresholds for different drugs, and impairment.
So impairment
is different.
Is something totally different from the legal limit to operate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I gave you the example of being impaired and operating with alcohol over 0.08. So you can be charged for both separate offenses. You could be charged for one or the other, depending on the evidence that they have to put forth. So yes, there is a number for drugs and alcohol.
But that's for charges, different charges, and have different consequences.
And there is an impaired charge as well.
Okay. Undead Neon, long time no see. Glad to see you back here. Let's see. We've got, is there a speed buffer for speed cameras in Ontario? And I'm not going to bother putting these on screen because it takes too long. And we're at the end of an hour, and I want to get through a bunch of questions because we've been going slow because we didn't have a moderator today. No new questions coming in, but there's 93 comments here on TikTok, but we won't get to you, and I apologize in advance. We'll try and get a bunch of other tickets. So speed buffer for speed cameras, yes, they don't go off at the number. Like if you're doing 10, if you're doing the speed limit, it will not get you. If you're 1 or 2 kilometers over, chances are will not get you. I recently heard from somebody who got a ticket at 12 over in a 30. So that's pretty significant over the speed limit in terms of percentage.
So each municipality sets their own limits of when the camera is going to go off.
Mm-hmm.
Each one has the ability to set it for 1 kilometer over. Whether they do and what their limit is, we don't know.
Yes, it's entirely, and we don't want to know because, and if they announced it and said, "Well, you can do 5 over," then everyone would just do 5 over. Like the idea is that you should not exceed the posted speed limit ever. And if there was some discrepancy with your tire size and your speedometer rating or something was not malfunctioning and you were a kilometer off, because speedometers aren't 100% accurate at every speed. They're most accurate at one speed, possibly the 60 to 80 range, and then everything else they could be maybe fractionally off. So that those thresholds or those cover that.
The only ones that are actually perfect are the certified calibration ones we have on police vehicles. So they actually have each vehicle goes through a certification process for the speedometer to be exact at all speeds.
Mohit Luthra is asking about, hey, I'm trying to apply for police constable, but there is no opening. That is inaccurate, my friend, because we are actually hiring, and I will put it on screen because we can do that sort of thing. If you go to tps.ca / careers, think about that, you can check out this website. And on that website is everything you'd ever want to know. If you click on a police constable, there's even a big old apply now. In fact, police services across the country are looking for applicants to fill positions in police services. This might be the best time ever to apply. So I would suggest if you are a permanent resident in Canada or a Canadian citizen, then you should consider applying. And like now.
And like you said, every police service is looking for somebody right now.
Yeah.
When I came on 28 years ago, it was very tough to get on a job as a police officer. And I worked very, very hard and did an awful lot to be able to achieve it. Still just as hard, but there's more vacancies available.
Let's see here. Yeah. We had a lot of guesses for how many tickets. Do you know how many tickets we've issued, or would you want to care to guess as to how many tickets we've issued in the city of Toronto this year?
Are we talking Highway Traffic Act tickets or all tickets everywhere for everything?
Well, HTA. Well, no, just tickets. The focus is HTA. They're all HTA, I think. The ticket portal.
I couldn't even guess. I would hope for zero.
You hope we issued 0 tickets?
Yep.
The goal should be 0 because no one's breaking the law.
Yep.
Sadly, no. It was more than 0. There were guesses of 200K, 1,571, 200K, 3 million, 1 million, 350, 175.
So
It was just over 200,000.
200,000.
In fact,
200,000.
210,690. It's a lot. Let's see here. So questions about the automated speed measurement. Someone wants to know if you get, what are the consequences? What happens? So Desdem got a ticket for 45 over on a speed camera, but wasn't the one driving. What do I do? Sadly, it's going to be a big ticket.
Yep.
And
It's an owner liability ticket, which means the owner of the vehicle got to pay.
yes, and that's, I don't even want, how much would that be? Well, excuse
I
me.
can look at it.
Sure, and it's double. It's those are in community safety zones, so the fine is double.
Where does it say community safety zone?
That's where automated enforcement cameras can be posted. So they're always double the speed limit. Or
You're
double
absolutely correct. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I did an interview with somebody. That's how I know the answer. They told me.
Sometimes you're smarter than you look.
I try occasionally. Excuse me. Okay, but Christina L is quite correct in that there are no points, but you do have to pay the number. Let's see here. If you see someone crossing the road at a light, car in front is turning left but does not see the. I don't know where you're going with that. Oh, I gotta, excuse me.
Wow.
How much would that be?
We're talking 45 over?
I think that's what it was.
I believe it is $670 total. Yep.
Yeah. What you could possibly do is phone the friend that was driving and say, "Hey, guess what? You owe me," and pay it. It doesn't affect, like I said, it doesn't affect your license, but it won't feel good coming out of your wallet. Okay. If you're at a traffic light managed by an officer and you want to turn right, do you need to wait for the officer to give you the permission to turn right? So if you mean if there's an officer directing traffic in the center, then you're looking to the officer for who's directing traffic. If you're talking about controlling the light because they're at the switch, then you're just following the lights.
Proceed contrary to officer directing traffic. Absolutely. When somebody's out there trying to direct the entire intersection, it is a tough thing to do. Wait till you get direction from them. They'll get to you eventually.
Randy wants me to comment on the lack of enforcement that is needed for scooters and electric bikes. It's the same thing of all of the offenses. We focus on the ones that lead to serious injury and death, and we don't have the person power to focus on all of the stuff. In fact, I've commented before that I'd like to start the everything else unit where I would charge people only for those types of charges. I'd go after everything that nobody else is dealing with because that's
Because it affects people.
It affects people, but they are my biggest pet peeves. So I would just love to be able to go out and enforce all those things because they're important, but just based on how the world works, the stuff that's killing people is the priority, and it makes sense. That doesn't make me less interested in writing those tickets. What is okay? We got here. Anonymous. So there's an assumption that I don't care about anybody who's on YouTube today. There's 10 of you. There's hundreds of people on the other side, and I'm trying to balance the fact that we don't have a moderator today, and TikTok is not working with Restream, which we were hoping it would. The goal here, and what should be happening, is that all the comments on YouTube or TikTok will come over into the one pool, and everyone will get their turn in order. But I appreciate that you're in a pool of 10, and you'd like more attention, Anonymous.
Hey, when I'm not here, I watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're ignoring them?
Well, right now,
You'd be
Anonymous.
ignoring me.
Yeah. He doesn't even look at the screen. I'm looking at both screens. Anyway, and in fact, I'm trying my best to help everybody. But we do this Monday to Friday, and we haven't even talked about like dad jokes yet. If you've got dad jokes, throw them on YouTube. I won't say put them on TikTok because I probably won't see them. But if you're on YouTube and you got dad jokes, throw them up there. And anyone who, like I did mention this earlier, anybody who's on TikTok trying to get heard, check us out. Go to youtube.trafficcop.ca. I'll take you right to our YouTube page. Okay. Akela going to bat for me. He says, Sean has questions to catch up on. Spamming the chat will not get you seen. And of course, Anonymous is just poking fun because he gets it. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. What if someone gets caught with a radar detector? We charge them and
we
take it away. It's one of those things, $170, 3 demerit points, and you lose the device. And some of those things are expensive.
Yep.
Like thousands of dollars.
Some of them are actually mounted integral to the vehicle, and we take your vehicle apart to get it out.
That's why we carry screwdrivers, pliers, and wire cutters.
You won't like the way we take it out.
No, it is.
Are we authorized to? Yeah. Are you authorized to have it? No.
And then let's see here. Christina says $700 for a victimless offense in a recycle. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Desdem who says $700 for a 45 over is a victimless offense. Is that? Are you really trying to make that case? That 45 over is a victimless offense? No, you're just lucky you didn't kill anybody. Yes, no one got hurt that time. But if someone is using your vehicle and doing that kind of absolutely irresponsible driving in a school zone or community safety zone, your car should be crushed, not just fined. That's just my opinion.
I was going to say, seriously, how do you feel about that?
I have minor, like, we're talking about areas that we know are a concern. We've had people die.
45 over in a community safety zone,
Yeah,
which is schools, parks, neighborhoods that are at higher risk.
Yeah. No, it's not victimless. It's just sheer luck that no one got hurt. And that's the difference. The idea is to curb the behavior so you don't hurt anybody. That's why there's a high cost to pay. But if you're going to make a case about 45 over, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Let's see here.
Well, Sean, I'm at 12 minutes after, and I have to depart.
Okay. Well, thanks for dropping in and spending time. It's been great. I'm going to scroll through and see if there's anything really, really, really important. But I will keep these, and I will try and make videos to respond to them, because that's something I can do on an ongoing basis, is work through this. Imagine 42 says, why is OPP on TikTok? I don't know. I don't think they are on TikTok. We're the Toronto Police, not the OPP. OPP was on TikTok, and they're no longer on TikTok.
And we actually broadcast on TikTok, but we do it through a different means.
Yes.
Because there is a policy that we can't have the actual app on
Our phones.
devices.
We don't even use phones. We go. What's the line from? No, I was thinking of Doc from Back to the Future. He says, "Where we go, we have no roads." But we're on TikTok and we don't need phones. It was sort of rhymed. I don't know why it happened. Okay, let's see here. Scrolling through, we've got here. A number of people saying that people don't drive as well as they think. But if you ask them if they think they're great drivers, they most certainly think they are. What's the difference between? What's the difference in penalty in a hit and run versus hit and wait? Hit and run is a very significant charge, and are investigated, because that's disgusting when people take off leaving victims. There's a number of charges you could be. So, in terms of going through the penalties, it's just not worth it. Don't do it. Don't run. Running bad. Let's see here. What are the laws for using cell phone to pay? Let's say Tim Hortons drive-through. There's no law about using your cell phone to pay when it comes to Tim Hortons drive-through. You're on private property, not on a road. So it has to be a road, a highway for that charge. Certain charges you can, that charge you cannot. What community safety zone is 80 and over? So that would have been stunt driving if it was actually. What community safety zone is 80 and above zone? No, it would have been if it was charged by a police officer. That would have been stunt. So I'm assuming that they're lucky to have only gotten a ticket there. Boom, boom, boom. All right, going through other stuff. I've got a whole bunch of media requests now. I got to go talk to reporters, so I can't spend more time here. I really want to. I feel like I'm just. It's not the FriYAY I wanted. I wanted to be able to have everything working, but hopefully we'll get this all ironed out to make sure that TikTok works properly next time. It shows like it is, but it isn't actually working. Okay. Mista has silly questions. Let's see here. Once upon a talk. Okay, scrolling through. Bicycles allowed on sidewalk, allowed or not? The answer is no. This is too funny. How do I complain about traffic services media department about missing so many questions? Hey, it's just about trying to balance everything. Not intentionally ignoring you, Anonymous. Mind you, actually, now I think I should intentionally ignore him. Can you explain of absolute and strict liability in terms of traffic violations? So basically the concept is, and I should read you the definition as per to make it understood, but essentially, I don't give you the wrong wording. Hang on. Absolute liability. Absolute liability offenses are the least serious of three categories. It requires that the prosecution only prove the unlawful act or omission occurred. There's no opportunity for the defendant to prove that he or she executed or exercised due diligence or that some mistake occurred which led to the offense. That's for absolute liability. And, those are situations that we find in the Highway Traffic Act all the time. What do we got here? He says, let's go. My question's being answered. What was your other one you were asking about? Strict liability. So I'll give you the difference here. Which is really, this is just Googling it, but I'll talk about it because people don't tend to get it. Defendant is liable for committing an action regardless of what or his, so it's the lack of intent is what they're saying here. According to Cornell, this is U.S. law. I want to know what the Canadian description. So strict liability offenses, offense with no mens rea, which is the actus reus, the thinking about it. I'm throwing legal jargon that doesn't go together. No mens rea is the act with the guilty mind. To create a prima facie case that requires the accused to show all reasonable care. I don't even like that description. Anyway, should get a legal beagle in here to discuss the ins and outs. I'm so sorry that QS this. Let's see what we can do. Chase policy on motorcycles. We don't generally chase motorcycles. And people who ask that question generally know the answer to that question. But the deal is that there are different ways being reviewed. We catch a lot of motorcycles, but we have a lot of people who take off. And the reason is if we chase them, they're usually horrible riders and they crash and they get hurt and they sue us. So we tend to come to their house and charge them after the fact. Favorite Sienna's hot sauce flavor? How do you know about Sienna's hot sauce? How do you know about that, Chase? Amazing fresh hot sauce. I used to go through a liter every couple of weeks. I love hot sauce. Richard jumping in with absolute liability, strict liability. So there was actually a flavor that her super hot was actually made more hot because I made comments. Okay. What do we have here? So bicycles on sidewalks. Is that what I started to talk about? Did I ever talk about that? No bicycles on sidewalks unless you're under the age of 14, meaning you have to be 13 or younger. What happens if your G2 expires before your G license? Do you start all over to G1? You need to check with the ministry, but my understanding is you could just do the G2 test again. Okay. Can't drive from... somebody wants to know about G2 time. There's no time restriction on a G2 for driving. Mean Man Menio says that it's between 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. No, you can drive, but between midnight and 5 a.m., you can only drive with your immediate family or people or a maximum of one person under the age of 20 in the car with you between those hours. Exemption for people who are in your family, but that's it. Now, when you talk about the or in the first 6 months, in the second 6 months, you're allowed to have up to 3 people under the age of 20. Again, there's an exemption for those who are immediate family members. Okay. What is this? Really long nickname. How many cars come with a built-in phone? How about 0? What is the question? What is the actual question here? see if I can go back and see it. Gonna open a new one. A cop cut me off and I honked, so she got offended, pulled me over because she was saying she's never wrong. I don't know if that, whether it was or wasn't. I can't. Interesting. I got nothing to say about that. Once Upon a Talk says, fine. Hey, everyone, if you get a ticket in the mail, go fight. It's a driver's infraction. What? No. Well, you can do what you want, but you will likely get a ticket or a conviction anyway. You're just going to waste your time. 3 tickets for careless driving, leaving the scene, and not reporting. I panicked as my phone was dead. What do you mean you panicked because your phone was dead? You left the scene of a collision because your phone was dead? How many cars come with... No, I'm still trying to figure out... Go back here. Okay. You did it again. Explain the traffic cam's enforceability. You openly skipped. It's a valid... I didn't see the question. I just went back and got more stuff. So Once Upon a Talk, what is the question? In fact, I don't even have that question on here. I'm cutting and pasting out of TikTok to get to you because I can't scroll back on TikTok. It's really weird. Actually, let me see if I can do it here. What are we on? Okay, scrolling back to Once Upon a Talk. Speedy Gonzalez in the show. Can you get charged with blood alcohol over 80 in private property if the person is in a car? Yes, you can't. Over 80 is, or 80 over, 80 and over, is still arrestable on private property. What is this? There are people that get hit. You are not a good... Oh, I'm trying to figure out once again, where is the question? How are there victims if someone's driving fast if no one is hurt and property isn't damaged? Oh, you're breaking the law. Is it victimless? It causes, even if there was no specific victim in there, I don't consider it a victimless crime. It's a crime. You don't get a pass. Like if you try and rob a store but they have no money, you didn't take anything, and they really did. Yeah, you're still breaking the law. All right. What is? I don't see the talk question. If I'm using Google Maps on my phone, what's the safest way to look while driving? You can have your phone mounted with the display on in map mode, but you can't touch the phone while it's done. So if it's not mounted, you can't use it. Once it's mounted, you can. All right, I can't get through all these. I wish I could. Come back on Monday. We'll do it all over again, and we will see you then. Have a great weekend. I didn't do dad jokes. We're just way over time. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, drive sober, park legally. And that's it. I meant to press the other button, which is this song. Have a good one.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Okay, that's it. I got lots of media stuff to do, so have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.